Hello again and welcome back to the channel. Today I am happy to finally present my guide to TOEFL Speaking Question 2, freshly updated for 2024 and the new version of the TOEFL IBT test. I'll get started by describing the basics of this task. Here's how it works. First up, you'll read a short article about a change at a university. You'll have 45 seconds to read the article and it'll be about 100 words. After that, the article will go away, you'll never see it again, and you'll listen to two students discussing the article and the change mentioned in it. The discussion will be about 1 to 2 minutes, and you'll only be able to listen to it one time. After that, you'll answer a question about what you've just read and listened to. After you see the question, you'll have 30 seconds to prepare and 60 seconds to speak. Let's get right into it and check out a sample of this task. On the screen here is an announcement. It's a reading. It describes a change on a campus regarding the campus fitness center. Now, that can be a little bit intimidating to look at. There's a lot going on there, right? But I want to stress that the reading here has a very specific style and structure, and I've highlighted it here. Check it out. Usually near the beginning, in the first or second sentence, you're going to read what the actual change is. In this case, it says, the campus fitness center will permanently close at the end of this semester. That's your change. After that, there's kind of like some bonus stuff that's not terribly important. Here it says it was made by the university administration, blah, blah, blah. But then as you read on, what you're going to find are two reasons for this change. In this case, the first reason is that the building housing the center is old and the university can't afford to maintain it or pay for the heat and air conditioning. That's the first reason. After that, you're going to read on and you're going to find a second reason for the change. In this case, the second reason is that the fitness center isn't so popular because the university has partnerships with private gyms in the city that students can use for free. And that's it. That's how the structure of this question works. There's a change and there's two reasons. Generally, the change is described near the beginning and then you get the two reasons. I swear, work through a bunch of the ETS materials and you'll notice this pattern again and again and again. Once you understand the pattern, you're in a better position to actually answer the question efficiently. Anyways, after you read that, it goes away. You're never going to see it again, so take a few notes. Then you're going to listen to a conversation, two students talking about this change. And again, it has a very particular structure. Here I've got a transcript of the conversation. Of course, on test day, you're not going to get a transcript. You're just going to listen one time. But check it out. Here's how the structure goes. At the beginning, you're going to hear a little small talk, right? One of the students is going to say like, hey, how you doing? What do you think about this announcement about the campus fitness center? And then right near the beginning, one of the students is going to express an opinion about it. They're going to say, I'm completely opposed to the plan. Or maybe they're going to say, I think it's a pretty good idea. In any case, near the beginning, listen for one of the students expressing an opinion, a clear opinion about this change. And then as you listen on, that same student is going to do most of the talking, and they're going to describe two reasons for their opinion. In this case, the first reason is that, well, shutting it down isn't going to save very much money because the building is old and you still have to maintain it. And, even if you tear down the building, you'll have to pay for construction workers and you're going to have to build something new. So shutting down the fitness center isn't going to save much money. And then after they finish with that first reason, they're going to go into a second reason. And in this case, they're saying, well, the gyms in the city are really hard to get to. It takes 30 minutes to drive to the closest one. If you don't have a car, that's going to be a problem. And, even if you pay for a taxi, it's hard to get one at night. So, I don't like the idea that, we can just use those fitness centers in the city instead. And so notice too that the reasons are kind of interrupted, right? Like the other student is going to kind of chime in with their thoughts in between. But basically, that's how the structure works. At the beginning, the student expresses their opinion, and then they describe their first reason, and then they describe their second reason. You're not going to get 3 reasons. You're not going to get 4 reasons. This is it. 2 reasons. And the other thing I want to draw your attention to is that the reasons refer back to the reasons mentioned in the reading. Remember how the first reason in the reading was about saving money on the building? Well, in this case, the first reason from the conversation is also about saving money on the building, but it specifically challenges that. In this case, the reading's second reason was about using gyms in the city. And the conversation's second reason is also about using gyms in the city. That's how it works. That's the structure. It's responding directly to the reading. Again, once you understand the structure of this question and how ETS designs it every week, you'll have a much easier time answering. Knowing is half the battle, as those TV commercials used to say when I was a kid. After the conversation goes away, you don't hear it again, and you'll see the question on the screen. It's going to be something like this. The woman expresses her opinion of the university's plan. State her opinion and the reasons she gives for holding that opinion. Could be phrased a little bit differently. Sometimes it says, the woman expresses her opinion of the university's plan, briefly describe the plan, and then state the reasons for the woman's opinion. So, the phrasing could be a little bit different, but don't worry about that. You're going to answer the question in the same way, no matter how it's phrased. As I said, you'll have 30 seconds to prepare and 60 seconds to speak. In case you're wondering, these are what my notes look like for a question of this type. They're nothing fancy. I start with a big R at the top that I write even before it begins to indicate these are my notes about the reading. And then I mention the change. I say the fitness center is going to close. You can see I'm using very short forms. And then I mention the first reason. I put a number 1 just to keep it organized. I say it's old plus expensive. I say it's expensive to maintain. It's expensive to have heat and air conditioning. I sometimes use X to indicate negative things, and then I just try to remember what it means. I don't have time to write expensive. All I can do is write X. And then I write a 2 for the second reason. I say it's X popular. It's not popular. Students can go to the fitness centers in the city, and they're free. And then when I'm getting ready to hear the listening, I draw this arrow to note how the reasons are connected. And then I write XX to indicate that she disagrees. I could put a happy face or a check mark if she agrees, whatever is easiest. And then I just write the reasons she disagrees with the first one and the reasons she disagrees with the second one. Pretty straightforward notes. Practice questions and see how note-taking works for you. But, this is a pretty good idea. Notice that I'm not making notes of everything. That's impossible. Honestly, when you speak, part of your answer will have to come from your memory, right? You're not going to be able to make notes about everything. So practice that. Practice working with notes and your memory to give a strong answer. In terms of a sample answer, here's one on the screen. Yeah, that's a lot of words, but when I read it out at a regular pace, I was able to fit it all in within 60 seconds. Your answer might be shorter, it might be longer, but this is a model. How did I structure it? Well, here's what I did. You can see in yellow, I summarized the announcement and the reasons for the change. In my first sentence, I note that the campus fitness center is going to be closed. This is because, and then I mention the 2 reasons. And then in green, I state the man's opinion. Or actually, in this case, I think it was a woman's opinion. You get what I mean. The man opposes this. The woman opposes this. To begin with, he points out, and then I mention the whole first reason that he gives. Moreover, he argues that, and I mention the whole second reason that he gives. That's the structure. Summarize the reading. Summarize the man's opinion. Summarize the man's first reason, summarize the man's second reason. That's what you do. That's how this answer can be structured pretty much every single time. If I'm wrong, let me know. In terms of a template, in terms of timing, this is what I recommend. You could even use this phrase, according to the announcement, and then, state the change. Spend about 5 seconds on that. Next, this is because, and then mention the 2 reasons from the reading. Spend about 10 seconds on that. So you're spending 15 seconds in total on the reading summary. And then state the opinion. The man opposes this. The man supports this. Or the woman opposes this. Or the woman supports this. Whatever. It's going to be about 2 seconds. And then at the end, you're mentioning the reasons. To begin with, he points out that. Moreover, he argues that. That's about 43 seconds. So notice you're spending about 45 seconds in total summarizing the conversation. That's the most important part. Getting all those rich details in from the conversation. How are you graded? Well, a few things. First of all, you're graded by the human rater on whether your details are correct and complete. So you want to get as many details as you can from both sources. The lecture details are most important, but the reading details are also fairly important. It's not possible to have too many details. If it's mentioned in the sources, it's probably okay to include as long as it's correct and accurate. You're judged by an AI which considers your fluency, by which I mean the speed, the pace. Are you talking at a normal speed, kind of like I am in this video? If you're going way too slow, you're going to lose some points from the AI. It's also judging your pauses. Are you pausing in the right places? Are you pausing at the end of a sentence? Are you pausing at the end of a clause? Those are good pauses. But if you're pausing just in the middle of a sentence randomly, that's a bad pause and you're probably going to lose points. So practice speaking fluently without pauses in inappropriate spots. You're also judged on what I call stumbles, but this refers to things like self-corrections, whether you kind of go back and fix a mistake that you just said. It also refers to kind of when you repeat words, like when you say, the campus fitness center will close. See that campus. That's kind of what I call a stumble. That's going to hurt you a little bit as well from the AI. Both the AI and the human rater kind of consider your pronunciation. That's pretty straightforward. Are you pronouncing your words in a clear way that you can be understood without really any extra effort on the part of the human? If you could do that, you'll get a good pronunciation score. It's considering broadly how you pronounce vowels. That's really important. Are you pronouncing vowels in the way that a native speaker would? It's also considering your rhythm or your intonation. Are you stressing and unstressing syllables? That can be a hard skill to develop, but it's something you want to work on. I recommend an activity like shadowing, where you listen to native speakers speaking and you kind of repeat what they've just said. Something I always say to my students, do shadowing like 20 minutes a day, and you'll really improve your vowels and your rhythm. And of course, you are judged on your grammatical correctness. Are you using English grammar properly? That's really important. These are just a few things. I think they're the main things you're judged on, but these are kind of what I want you to keep in mind as you're preparing for this task. The next question I get is often, so what are these questions about? I mean, could it be anything? Well, not just anything. Keep in mind that this question is usually almost always about campus. Right? Things that are happening at a university, changes that are happening at a university, on a university campus. And more specifically, there's tons of questions about changes related to buildings and facilities. Like maybe there's some change going on at the library or at the campus art gallery or, at the fitness center as we talked about, or maybe even as something like a parking lot on campus. So buildings and facilities, probably the most common area for this task. Often, too, there are changes related to classes and departments. So, maybe like a certain art class is going to be eliminated next semester, and they're going to give 2 reasons for that. Or maybe like they're going to be a new graduation requirement for the computer science department. Like they're going to say every student needs to take a computer programming class before they graduate, and they're going to give 2 reasons. Or maybe like a new professor is going to be hired to teach a new class. You know what I mean? Changes related to classes and departments. Transportation is a fairly common topic, so it might be something like a new bus service on campus, or maybe even something like a bicycle sharing program. Things related to transportation are pretty common. And last but not least, things related to extracurriculars, sports, clubs, that sort of thing, very common. These are not the only areas you might get something totally different, but they are pretty common. And generally, keep in mind that, again, it's related to things that are going on at a university. A few general tips I want to give you before I wrap this up. The first one's probably the most important. The reading could be a letter. So in this case, it was an announcement describing a change. That's the most common format, but it could be slightly different. So I'm glad you stuck around to the end of the video. It could be a letter describing a suggested change. You get what I mean? So instead of an announcement that the campus fitness center is going to change, it could be a letter suggesting that the campus fitness center close. And so you would start by saying, according to the letter, the campus fitness center should close. And then the rest of your answer will be exactly the same. Keep an eye out for that. Another suggestion, keep in mind that the reading details, I think, are somewhat less important. Most of your score comes from your ability to summarize the conversation. So if you're kind of lower level, or you're maybe a bit slower when you speak, you could eliminate some of the reading details to give yourself more room to summarize the conversation. So for example, you could just say, according to the announcement, the campus fitness center will close next semester. The man thinks this is a bad idea. The man opposes this. Do you see what I've done? In this case, I've eliminated the reasons from the reading. Now, that's not something I love, but if you have to shorten something, you're going to shorten that. Next up, conjunctions. In all my videos going back like 10 years, I'm always mentioning conjunctions. If you want to give your answer some grammatical sophistication, use conjunctions. So, but, and, while, since, those sorts of things. I can't turn this into a grammar lesson, but you could look up conjunctions and use a few of them in your answer. Transitional words and phrases. Again, I've been mentioning these in videos for a decade. Things like in addition, for example, however, moreover, additionally, on the other hand. These phrases are great. I mean, I know they sound kind of cliche at this point, but you want to use those throughout your answer to give it more structure and organization. Next up, I want you to avoid repeating words too many times. I know it's hard, but just don't say the same words and phrases every single time. Don't just say fitness center, fitness center, fitness center, fitness center, fitness center. I mean, you could come up with other things. You could call it a gym. You could say the facility. I mean, just try to avoid repeating words, even keywords. Using a wide range of words and phrases in your answer will result in a higher score. My last tip, practice a lot. Practice, practice, practice. Some people that, they do like 4 or 5 practice questions and they say, hey, I'm all ready. I don't want you to do 4 or 5. I want you to do 40 or 50 practice questions. Seriously. Every time you practice, you're going to get better. If you can practice with good feedback from an AI or from a human teacher or something, that's great. You'll grow faster. But even if you're practicing without like a good source of feedback, you're still going to improve. You'll notice patterns. You'll notice your own mistakes. Your fluency will improve. So please, I beg you, practice as much as you can. This is a expensive test. It's a very serious test. Practicing is a smart idea. In terms of how you can practice, well, I mean, I do have a few suggestions, and I'm going to put links and stuff in the video description down below. But one source I really like, of course, is official ETS material. That's really probably the best. They have 3 books, which were recently updated, like about a month ago. And if you use those 3 books, I think you'll have 14 questions right there you can practice with. They also have a new website thing called TOEFL Test Ready, which has both free and paid questions. If you're just using the free stuff, I think you'll get like maybe 3 or 4 questions you can use right away. Plus, they have something called the free activity of the day, which is a different question. You know, sometimes it's speaking, sometimes it's writing. And of course, you could also pay for some stuff there too. Next up, TST Prep is a great website, which I don't work for. I have nothing to do with, but I really like it. They sell like a batch of like 20 practice tests you can buy. And they have a bunch of free stuff too if you hunt around the website. So that's 20. I think they charge like $75 or something, maybe 80. It's a good deal. And actually, I'll put a coupon code in the video description, which will save you like 10% off of the purchase, I think, if you want to buy some stuff from them. Those tests are very, very accurate. They consulted me a little bit when they were making them, so they kind of like, you know, they have my seal of approval. Last but not least, there is a great website called My Speaking Score, which has like, I think it has like 20 practice tests now, and it's just TOEFL speaking. So if you make a membership there, you'll get 20 practice tests, and they're pretty accurate. They're pretty close to the real thing. And also, I think I did do a little bit of consulting with them when they were making some of them. So they also have my seal of approval. And if you pay them some money, you can get them graded by AI, and it uses the same AI that ETS uses to grade the real TOEFL. And once again, I will give you like a discount code in the video description, and you can save like 10% or something again on your purchase. But I mean, you could also just use the free stuff too, which is cool. All right, I am going to leave it at that, but if you want to find more of my junk, you can check out my website at TOEFLresources.com. I've got guides to like every section of the TOEFL test, and if you want to sign up for some lessons from me, I do TOEFL speaking lessons one-on-one via Zoom. Just click on the link that says lessons, or I also have a TOEFL speaking evaluation service where you send me your practice answers. I send them back to you with my comments and my estimated score, and at no extra charge, I will upload your samples to the My Speaking Score AI, and I'll give you the AI report for free, which I think is just as useful as my human comments. Anyways, that's all for now. I promise the guide to TOEFL speaking question 3 will be, well, I'm going to make it more quickly than I made this one. I know there was a huge delay. I've just been really busy, guys. I'm so sorry. But I'm a little bit less busy because it's the summer. So come back in a week or 2 or 3 or maybe in a month or 2 months or 9 months. I don't know. I will have a guide to TOEFL speaking question 3. Just keep checking the channel or subscribe or whatever you're supposed to do. All right, that's all for now. I'll talk to you later. Take care and good luck on the TOEFL.